is Jenna, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up and my October TBR. But before we get into that, can I just say the fact that September is over and it's now October, that kind of freaks me out a little bit because it means that I have been in America for almost 2 months now, and I will be leaving in like 4 months? October, November, December, okay, 3 months. Ha, that's scary. This is scary. I don't like to talk about it much. I only managed to read 3 books in the month of September, but I also read like a lot of short stories for different classes, but I'm not going to talk about those much because they don't count towards anything. So the first book that I read in the month of September was Hiroshima by John Hersey, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I read it for my American literature class, and I just didn't find it all that interesting. This book is about 6 people who were in Hiroshima the day that the bomb was dropped, and it is about their survival story, which is, you know, interesting enough, but I personally, it's not the kind of book that I enjoy reading, and the fact that we had to study it, whenever you have to study a book, you tend to not enjoy it as much. So wasn't a big fan of this book, but at least it was super short, so it wasn't hard to read. The second book that I read this month was a complete spur-of-the-moment decision, and that was The Evolution of Claire by Tess Sharp, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars to. Okay, so first off, I didn't know this book existed until I went to Barnes & Noble and saw it, and I immediately knew that I needed it, so I bought it and started reading it that night. Like, it was such a good book. This book follows Claire from the Jurassic World movies, and it is her after her first year of college, and she goes to Isla Nublar before Jurassic World is opened. It's a year before it opens, and she is an intern there, and they get to see sort of all the behind the scenes things of how the park is coming together. We get to see some familiar characters. We get to see Mr. Masrani and Dr. Wu, who I still hate because of everything that he's done. Somehow Tess Sharp managed to create a Claire that was so recognizable from what I saw on screen. I could see a lot of the Fallen Kingdom Claire in this book, which was really cool because they did kind of say that this was Claire, and then I got to see how she became the Claire that we saw in Jurassic World. But I've always, I don't know, I loved this book. I loved the characters. The cast of characters they had was incredible. They were all so much fun. I loved them to pieces. The plot, I wasn't really sure what they were gonna do. I had a feeling that there would be like some kind of dinosaur attack because it's a Jurassic World novel, and that's just kind of what happens on the island. And I was pleasantly surprised with what they came up with, and I did not expect the ending. Like, from a million miles away, I would not have picked the ending. I'm super impressed with this book. Like, I'm so impressed with this book that I was working on my top 12 favorite reads of 2018, and honestly I think this book is gonna come in at number 1, but I really don't know. There's still a lot of the, what is happening here? Can you just sit? There we go. There's still a lot of the year to go, so I don't know what's gonna happen, but this book, highly recommend, especially if you are in love with Jurassic World as much as I am. And then the last book that I read this month was an ebook, and that was The Book of Daniel by E.L. Doctorow, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars to. This book was almost impossible to get through. It was really confusing, and it just was awkward, made me feel kind of super uncomfortable, so I definitely was not a fan. I read this book for my American literature class because it was all about the Rosenberg trial and execution, which I have to admit I didn't know a lot about before coming here and doing that course, mainly because that's not the kind of thing we teach in Australia. So because of that, I wasn't a big fan of the characters. In fact, I really didn't like any of the characters, especially our main character Daniel. He was just awful. And then the plot was kind of super confusing. So we basically had, I think it was 2 concurrent plots. We had like Daniel as a kid and then Daniel as an adult, and I just was so confused with what was going on like at any given moment. So I was not a fan of this book. And those are all of the books that I read in the month of September, and now I will tell you a little bit about the books I'm planning on reading in October. I'm going to start with the uni books that I have to read. So one of the books that I have to read for my mythology class is something called The Epic of Gilgamesh, which worries me with the title epic. I thought it was going to be all poetry, but it's not. It looks like there's some poetry, there's some prose, but there's some, I don't know, I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to like it. Probably not. But I have liked everything that we've read so far in mythology, so I don't know, maybe. I don't actually have to read anything from my Medieval Wonders class. That's exciting. For my American literature class, I have to read The Bell Jar, which I believe is by Sylvia Plath. Yes, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. That's it. Oh my goodness, okay, so I only have 2 uni books to read. What? I've got lots of readings obviously, but I only have 2 actual novels to read this month for university. That's amazing. So because of that, I'm going to actually put 2 other books on my TBR. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do for my TBR, but I'm going to put 2 other books on there. So the first book that I'm putting on here is Sea Fire by Natalie C. Parker. I desperately want to get this book finished by Saturday, which is not gonna happen because that's 2 days from now. But the Booksplosion book club is doing a live show on it, so I kind of really wanted to join in, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. So I don't know much about this book at all, but I believe it follows a girl named Caledonia whose family is killed by I want to say a pirate. You know what, I'm just gonna read you the blurb because I don't know enough about this book to tell you. After her family is killed by corrupt warlord Arik Athair and his bloodthirsty army of bullets, Caledonia Styx is left to chart her own course on the dangerous and deadly seas. She captains her ship, the Mors Navis, with a crew of girls and women just like her who have lost their families and homes because of Arik and his men. The crew has one mission: stay alive and take down Arik's armed and armored fleet. Technically that's 2 missions, staying alive is 1 mission, but anyway. But when Caledonia's best friend and second in command barely survives an attack thanks to help from a bullet looking to defect, Caledonia finds herself questioning whether to let him join their crew. Is this boy the key to taking down Arik Athair once and for all, or will he threaten everything the women of the Mors Navis have worked for? So it basically sounds like badass pirates just kicking ass, and I am super here for that. And then the other book that I'm going to put on my TBR is The Continent by Kira Drake. I actually do know a little bit about this book. This was one of my anticipated reads for 2018, but for some reason I just kind of never got my hands on it until I came over here because Barnes & Noble had a sale. So this book follows a girl named Vayla who on her 16th birthday receives a trip down to the continent, which is all she's ever wanted. Most people would find a trip to the continent to be kind of an odd thing to want because the continent itself is a really desolate, cold landscape where 2 nations are locked in a warring battle. However, most people like to go down to the continent in order to see the glory of battle. Vayla, on the other hand, is a cartographer and she just wants to go down to improve on the maps that she has drawn of the continent. When a tragic accident leaves Vayla stranded on the continent, she finds herself in the middle of this war and isn't sure how she is going to survive or how she is going to get home. She is going to be changed on this journey from the brutality of battle and everything that she sees, and she has to try and find a way home. It sounds amazing and I am so ridiculously excited to get to read it. I remember this book was supposed to come out last year, but I believe there were some issues with it. So I'm really curious to see if those issues got fixed at all in rewrites and why is this happening. This is the only problem with hardcovers. They're beautiful otherwise. And so there you have it. That is my September wrap up and my October TBR. Let me know in the comment section below if you have read any of these books and what you thought. I'd absolutely love to know. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random. Bye.